though, and really make this thing feel like it is alien, right? I think creating a boundary like this is super important for a base like this, especially if you're trying to make something that is otherworldly. You need to somehow make a boundary, whether that's with trees or mountains or just a good old-fashioned wall, which is what we're working on. And just to show you the design, pretty simple. We're just using the GigaCorp color palette here, the white, the orange, the brown, the blue, and we're using the end rods, of course, for some lighting all the way around too. So nice and easy, nice and symmetrical also. So hopefully I can remember the pattern, but it's pretty straightforward. And I've got all the blocks in the inventory over here that we're going to need to get going on this thing. I might need to check in every now and then to remember the design. But yes, welcome everybody to pre-recording episode 2. And I really do hope you enjoyed the previous one. I was editing it yesterday, and listening back to the story that I told you was kind of inspiring, and I really did enjoy putting that episode together because, I don't know, it was just cool to just talk for a bit and not worry too much about video production and stuff, you know, just to have a chat with you guys and connect on a more human level. I thought that was really cool. So hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did enjoy it, please do let me know in the comments. And also, if you have any stories from your own childhood that is inspired by the stories that I'm going to be telling you over the next couple of weeks, please don't be shy. Share them with us in the comments. One of my favorite things about my older vanilla Let's Play series was that you guys used to share your stories with me and the audience also, and that was super cool. So please don't be shy. Let us know if you've got any interesting stories out there. Speaking of stories, what we're talking about today, well, we're building a wall. We're making a wall. And I've got a very interesting story to tell about a wall, not necessarily about the wall itself, but more about what came of a wall that I once found myself standing on. Pretty much like this. Last night while I was having a shower, I was trying to think about what to talk about in today's episode, and I asked myself the question, what is your origin story, Rendog? How have you landed up being a YouTuber, making Minecraft videos for the last 10 years? Can you guys believe I've been doing this for 10 years? That's pretty insane, right? Absolutely insane. I think it's more than 10 years. I have never done anything for more than 10 years in my entire life. Mostly because I have a very curious personality and I get bored of stuff quite easily. And when it comes to jobs and careers and things like this, I usually find myself moving on after a couple of years. Always in pursuit of something more interesting, I suppose. I guess I'm never satisfied, which is maybe not a good thing. But it's certainly one of the strong character traits that I share. But this particular job I have been doing, well, for a very, very long time indeed. In fact, I've probably been doing this job for as long as some of you guys have been alive. Isn't that insane to think about? My goodness. So, I was asking myself, what is the origin story of all of this? Why and how have I ended up doing this? And why do I love doing this so much? And it all comes back to a story I have figured out that involves a wall. And we're going to have to go way back for this one, friends. We're going all the way back to, I would say, 10-year-old Rendog. Something like this, just before I went to high school. Which was when I was 12 or 13. So yeah, this would have been about a 10-year-old Rendog. This is a story from the 10-year-old Rendog's perspective. And, well, I guess I need to give you a little bit of pretext as to how I found myself sitting on top of a wall and, I guess, finding my purpose in life in this very weird way. So, I went to a school in the city of Johannesburg in South Africa, and it was just a normal school. In South Africa, and it was just a normal school, but it was an all-boys school. And the only way that we used to sort of interact with girls was on the weekends, where our parents would organize what we used to call socials. And a social was basically just a gathering of kids from the boys' school and the girls' school at somebody's house, and it was basically like a house party, right? For preteens. We would just go over to whoever's house party it was, hang out, you know, have music outside, drink soda, hang out in the garden, swim, chat, You know, usually the entire party was the boys on one side of the house and the girls on the other side of the house, and then only the super brave ones making the effort to actually communicate with one another. You know how it goes. I'm sure some of you guys have either recently been to a party like this or can remember these sort of parties when you yourselves were very young. And the frequency of these parties was pretty regular. We used to have these kind of parties, I don't know, maybe once every second weekend or something. And it really depended on which parents were willing to host, 20 or 30 kids over at their house. But these socials are always a really fun time and a really great way for us to, I guess, learn how to socialize with other human beings as young kids. And to also, I don't know, sort of start to grow up a little bit, I suppose, right? So a big thanks to all of the parents that facilitated these house parties, because they certainly were some of my funnest times as a very, very young kid. Now, it was at one of these particular house parties that I met a wall, and this wall and I became exceptionally good friends, because the more that I thought about my origin story of being a Minecrafter, the more that I realized that perhaps it was rooted in this particular moment where a wall and I became very well acquainted, so to speak. Now, this wall that I'm talking about existed at my best friend's house. Now, my best friend was was from a very wealthy family. His parents were, I don't know, they were big in South African television or something, and they had like a really amazing house in Johannesburg. It was huge. It was a mansion. It was very impressive, 10 rooms and a massive swimming pool. And some of the things I remember about his house is that the swimming pool was painted black on the inside, which was really crazy and weird. Because when you jumped into the swimming pool, especially at night once the sun had gone down, it sort of felt like you were jumping into some sort of a void, It was really weird. It was like jumping into a very deep, dark ocean or something. And one of the reasons us kids loved going to their house was because of the swimming pool. It was just super cool and super different. But they also had like a massive wall around their property. And it wasn't just high, it was also very thick. This wall was probably about 2 foot thick, I suppose. Thick enough for, let's say, a 10-year-old to be able to walk on top of safely without anything bad happening. And I used to go and visit my best friend a lot because he had the coolest house ever. He was also a bit of a geek, so he had all of the latest tech, all of the latest computers. In fact, I believe, and this is going to date my age a little bit, I believe one of the very first computer games that I ever played was at his house, because he had a computer before many of us had a computer. And I remember going over to his house one day, and he introduced me to a game on his computer called Duke Nukem 3D, which is a ridiculously awesome game, for those of you guys who can remember it. But at the time, of course, we were playing Nintendo and stuff and playing, console games and not computer games. And the very first time I used a mouse and a keyboard to obliterate giant angry pigs with machine guns, I was hooked. And it was from this point, I think, that I became a gamer, actually. You know what? In fact, I blame my best friend and his house and his wall for many things, now that I think about it. Anyway, around his house was a massive, massive wall. And when I used to go visit, we used to play Duke Nukem a lot, and then his mum would chase us outside to go and play, because they also had a really big garden. So his mum didn't want us spending all day inside playing video games. So we would have to go outside. And of course, as naughty 10-year-olds, I was a pretty naughty 10-year-old, I'm happy to admit. Not naughty in a bad way, just a very curious and carefree 10-year-old. The story that I told yesterday, goes a long way to testify toward that. My behavior was not always on the safe side of things. But one of the things we used to love doing at his house when I used to go visit is climb up onto the roof of the house and walk along the walls around the house. He had one of those houses that had a very flat roof. In fact, it was completely flat. It was like a very modern house, all modular and square. A little bit like a Minecraft house, right? I suppose I can try and draw this for you. So this was their house, right? It was something like, I don't know, there's the main house, and then there was like a thing that went like this. This was the main courtyard. It was like a double story over here. some sort of massive mansion like so, and the wall went around the property like this, and we used to get up onto the wall by climbing up like a drain pipe or something on the side of the house and then hopping onto the wall. Parents out there are just freaking out right now thinking about how naughty children can be. Yes, we were quite naughty. But we'd get up onto this wall and we would just spend an hour or so playing on top of the roof, exploring, looking around. And of course, climbing up onto the walls and walking around the perimeter of the walls around the property. And for us, this was like a really fun game, and we used to do it all the time.
This crazy fairy tied me up.
I need your body.
Fey Trapped, only on Webtoon.
And so came a moment in my life where all of that practice climbing up that wall maybe paid off, I suppose, in some sort of weird way. Because, yes, it was at one of these social events that I was telling you about earlier that wall definitely came into play in the most curious of ways. Although, now that I see the hourglass in the background, guys, can we just take a quick break from the story to quickly check in on the beacon shop? I do believe that there have been a few more sales over the course of this week, and I want to make sure that we are documenting all of the sales that I'm doing. I don't want to, mess up the sale book. I think in an episode, a few episodes ago, I've been trying to keep track of all the sales that I've been making so that I can get trophies from Azuma. So let's have a look. There's another 18, and wow, there's a whole bunch of sales here, guys. This is most excellent. Any around the back? Let's have a look. Okay, no, that's it. I think that's it. Okay, nice. Not as many sales as the previous week, I think. Yeah, previous week was like 2 stacks and a half. Or maybe even more. I think it was 3 stacks and a half. This time around, we only got 108. Although the weekend isn't over yet, so I'll make sure to check in again a little bit later tonight. But that's great. I want to put this in the book, though, also. We need to document these things, my friends. This is very important. I don't know where the book is, though. It might be in here. Is this the sales book? Yes, this is the sales book. Okay, so week of March the 25th is 108. Okay, sales fluctuating on this graph, but it's totally fine. I'm very happy with that. You'll love to see the sales coming through like this. It makes me so happy. Okay, I'll deal with this off camera after the end of this episode. Oh, dang it, so close. That was almost a one take, but I lost my train of thought after going to check on our profits. Dang it, people. I tried so hard to make it a one take. Maybe the next one will be a one take, hey? But this one we're going to have a little cut in between, which is this one. I've gone and topped up my cup of tea in preparation for the rest of the story. It's a cup of rooibos tea from South Africa. And I'm preparing myself to go home, right? Re-South Africanize myself with South African treats. But yes, let's get back to the story. So, the wall at my best friend's house. And how does this coincide to what I have become in my life? Which I would describe if someone were to ask me, Rendog, what are you? What do you do? What is your profession? What is your profession, Rendog? I would say that my profession is an entertainer, an artist, and a video producer, I suppose, all wrapped up into one. But if I were to use one word to describe myself, I suppose it would be an entertainer, because that's what I do for a living, right? I make videos, you guys watch it, you guys are entertained by the episodes, hopefully, and so thus, vis-a-vis, ergo, I can define myself as an entertainer, and I think that's where I do put myself. An artist entertainer. Yes, let's go with that. And funnily enough, it was an experience that involved not this wall, but involved the wall at my best friend's house and a social event at my best friend's house that I think somehow foreshadowed who I have become today. And while I tell the story, I would love for you guys out there to think about your own lives right now. Where have you come to right now? What are you doing in your life? What is your profession? And do you have an origin story? Have you ever thought about it? How did you get to where you are today? And more importantly, how early on in your life do you think your current career or your current role in your life was defined? Because those are the questions that I ask myself in the shower. And I think I have the answer involving this wall. Ah, yes, there we go again with another cut. distracted myself with good memories, everybody. I was just thinking back to what a great time I had at that party, and that completely threw me off my train of thought. So yeah, second cut of the episode. You hate to see it, really. I'm supposed to be a professional, entertaining artist, aren't I? What am I even doing over here? Anyway, this was going to be a really awesome party because this was a party at my best friend's house, and as I was explaining, his house was so awesome with the black swimming pool. It was a house that everybody loved going to. His parents always treated us to, really spoiled us with food and music and games and all sorts of awesome stuff. And I couldn't wait to go. In fact, the whole class couldn't wait to go. We were so excited about this one. And so these events usually happen on the weekend, on a Saturday or a Sunday, whatever. And they usually started at around 5, I guess, and sort of went on to about, 8 or 9 in the evening. Maybe not even that late. I don't know. I cannot remember the times whatsoever. But I do remember that these parties used to go on into the nighttime, or at least into darkness, because the event that I'm about to talk about happened pretty much in the nighttime, I guess, because that's how I remember it. I remember the lights of the house, the lights of the street lamps around me, and so on. Because on this particular night, because that's how I remember it. I remember the lights of the house, the lights of the street lamps around me, and so on. Because on this particular night, I got up to some naughty shenanigans that I probably shouldn't have gotten up to. But naughty shenanigans that I think basically foreshadowed the man that I have become today. You see, the party was going really, really well. Everybody had arrived. It started very awkwardly, as always, where there was a bunch of, sweets and chips and pop and stuff in one of the rooms, maybe in the TV room or the living room with some music playing in there. But a Hanson, playing Mbop, bit of Nirvana playing, bit of Guns N' Roses and whatnot. All of those sweet, sweet bands from that era. And, all the kids would end up in the living room, all the guys on one side, all the girls on the other side, nobody talking to anybody, feeling all very nervous. Maybe a couple of the more, extroverted kids getting involved and telling jokes and running back and forth and teasing each other and whatnot. But yeah, the party started as these parties always did. A little bit awkward. Everybody feeling a little bit strange. But as things progressed, because it was such a great setting, such a beautiful night, I remember it being such a perfect evening. The stars were in the sky. It was an absolutely perfect evening for such a social event. As things progressed, the party sort of moved on to the outside and we started swimming, or at least some people started swimming. I wasn't a big fan of the swimming business, mostly because I was a little bit bashful and didn't want to, get into my costume in front of all the girls, I've been this way, I'm quite a private chap, and certainly being, even at the beach or something, I don't like sort of going swimming in the sea without my shirt on and stuff like that. I'm just bashful this way. So I wasn't swimming, but a lot of the kids were, and the pop was flowing, the good times were in a plenty, and we were all having as good a time as a bunch of 10, 11-year-olds could ever have. It was in this moment in time that something inspired me. I'm not sure what. I think perhaps because I was not in the pool with everybody, I was feeling a little bit left out, and I perhaps wanted to get some attention on myself, maybe. I think that's probably the right thing to do. I'm not ashamed to say that I enjoyed attention if I could get it. Every now and then, even though I was a fairly introverted and am a fairly introverted person, I think I do need every now and then an extroverted in the form of entertaining people, I suppose, or acting in front of a crowd or something like this. Hello! We'll say hello to Iskal. I'm in the middle of a story and Iskal comes on. Guys, it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. We're going to get interrupted in this episode once again. Yes, it's coming. I can feel it. Anyway, so yes, all the kids are in the pool. There's little rain dog chilling. There's the distraction. Who was that? That's either Ozuma or it's Iskal. That looks like it's Iskal. Yes, there he is.